Maybe. Yep. This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. What do you say? Are you ready to begin?
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Greg Gizmozord Parker, and you are listening to Lords of the Storm, episode 154, the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true Heroes of the Storm. I'm joined tonight, of course, by the Zord Lords themselves, Mr. Kevin Multizord Ellis and Ryan TBK Zord Reader, and on this week's episode... I'm just kidding. We're not doing that again this week. That was a one-time thing.
Oh, please. I missed it last week, so we need to do it again.
No, that was it. Voice chat has made its way to Heroes. It's here. Maiev gets smacked with a hammer again, and we are moving closer and closer to the Western Clash. But first, let's see how the other Zords are doing. Multi, how are you doing tonight?
Doing quite well. Yep, that was a good episode last week. Lords of the Storm comes every week, actually, it turns out. So,
wait, you got to say it now.
Oh, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to slap this thing with an explicit. So, but yes, jolly good show, gentlemen. Jolly good show.
Thank you.
Jolly
Thank you. TBK, how are you doing?
I am doing wonderfully. I've been playing lots of Heroes. It's been good. I've been actually getting work stuff done before the baby comes, so that's really good too. So yeah, it's been a good week so far.
Excellent. Well, what have you guys been up to in gaming? I don't know. I was trying to think of another term. Gaming works just fine. What were you guys up to in gaming this week? Multi?
That's mostly the term we've used.
Yes, it is.
In the past. But I mean, whatever. I've been back in WoW a fair bit, just when I can squeeze it in, more or less, But being a druid now, I'm actually kind of going through some of the druid quest line, as well as, it's the boost, right? So you start off with 870 gear, and you're just trying to piecemeal find what you can to improve. And so anyway, but my quest line has taken me to none other than Brightwing herself. Which I'm actually kind of terrified to go on her quests, because she's got me on one right now where I'm supposed to plant seeds on the corpses of 100 of my fallen enemies, and it's pretty great. So I don't know. You do get her as a follower eventually, don't you, TBK? You were a druid back when you did this.
Yes, you do get Brightwing as a follower.
That's all I need in life right there.
It's fantastic.
So. Yep. So that's what I've been up to there. I mean, I tried to squeeze in some heroes when I could. Hearthstone, of course. We've got... Next month is when the new resets happen, where they just set you back 4 ranks. So I did hit my goal of hitting 5, meaning I'll go back to 9 and rinse and repeat forever, hopefully, is my plan. But let's see, what else? Oh, yeah, I got a game in today. I got to try out some new feature that came out we might talk about in Heroes. So, yeah, that's me.
All right. TBK, how about you? Anything other than Heroes between the getting things ready for baby number 2?
Yeah, lots of Heroes. ARAM came back this week, which is super fun. I always love ARAM weeks, and I really, really hope we get that added as like a real mode that we could do all the time. That'd be super awesome. I've been playing some Divinity 2 again. I'm like halfway through the second act, and it is still one of the best games I've played in the last several years. It is really, really good. So I'm enjoying that a lot. And then I've actually been playing some WoW too. I was really bummed that I did not have time to get an Ulduar run in, because this was the first week. Yeah, this was the first week of time walking. for Ulduar. So I'm gonna have to wait until it comes back around and schedule it, because I think it takes several hours.
Yeah.
Still to run through that. Yeah, just like some of the other raids. So I really do want to run it at some point, because that is my all-time favorite raid from any WoW expansion period.
I feel bad because I had quit raiding back in Wrath by that time. I was just kind of PvPing at that point, and then I eventually petered out. So I've never actually really run it. So yeah, I felt bad missing it too. But it'll come back. Black Temple will come back. All the others. It's gonna end up being a cyclical thing, I think.
I'm gonna do it next time it comes back for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, myself, it's been an interesting week for me. So I've been playing Heroes, and I've still been playing CSGO. Gizmo was bad today, and I got banned in CSGO ranked for a couple hours. I did a bad thing.
How do you do that? Did you curse people out?
No.
What do you have to do to get banned? It was
more
CSGO?
of it was an instant ban. It was more of a justice ban. I was doing fine on my team. We had a troll on our team that was just playing bad on purpose and being really rude in voice chat. And for some reason, my team wasn't kicking him. And then he decided to target me, and I wasn't going to have any of that. So start of the next round, I just killed him instantly, and it kicked me out, dropped me a rank, and banned me out for like 2.5 hours. So yeah, justice ban, yay. So that got me tilted. Good old things voice chat can do. Hopefully,
yeah, right.
I don't know. But then I also the other day downloaded Smite. So I've been playing a whole bunch of different MOBAs, and we played Smite at some of our LANs, like back when it was in alpha or whatever. And I remembered I had bought the pack for $30 that like gave you all the gods. So I've been messing around on that. It's interesting.
That was forever ago.
It was a long time ago. It was like 4 or 5 years ago.
That was in that house up in the Northland that a few Zords lived at. Some of whom are in chat, might I add.
Yeah.
Hey, Swift. But yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I didn't realize the game was that
since
old.
then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has.
It?
I just it's fun to play. I just don't know if I could ever get really into the whole WASD MOBA and the view that it has. But it's, they have some cool game modes. But yeah, Heroes, I've still been playing the crap out of Lucio. I think he may slowly be turning me into maybe not a support main, but a support secondary. So I don't know. I'm confused in where my stance is on my role selection right now. So hopefully I'll figure that out in by this weekend, which we'll get to in a minute. But we also, before we get into the news, have Patron stuff to take care of. Want to give a shout out to our newest patron, Charles S. Thank you very much for the support. If you want to get to us for your Zord title for next week's episode, we will announce that. And then TBK,
I'm so excited. This is so fun. So we announced the whole new patron, new goals and such last week, and work has already begun on the first patron exclusive art project, and it's so stinking cool. So that's going to be coming up sometime early March-ish. So when that is finished, all the patrons who are subscribed, doesn't matter the amount, will get a high-res copy of this art that you can use for wallpaper, printout, or whatever. I'm probably going to get a poster of it because it looks pretty sweet. And then we'll post a smaller version on Twitter and stuff so everyone can kind of see it. But all the patrons will get the really high-res version of it so they can check it out. And we're hoping to do a few of those a year. So I'm really excited about the first one.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's going to be fun.
I haven't seen any of it yet.
I haven't either.
Yet,
and yet TBK has individually reached out to me 3-4 times now, just being like, dude, you're going to love this art. You don't even know.
I'm so excited.
Excellent. Well, we're excited to see it, and we hope you all are as well. So let's go ahead and hop on into the news. All right, first up, this weekend, Creators of the Storm is happening February 24th from 1 o'clock Eastern until tentatively 10 o'clock Eastern, whenever it's over. Who knows? We're just going to play the games. We're going to have a good time doing it. But there is going to be a lot of people involved in the content creation area of Heroes of the Storm involved. We have people from Gankbush Squad, Geeks of Azeroth, Troll and HGC, Weekly Blizz, Nexus Trolls, Trolls.gg, Blizz Pro, Nexus, Realm Maintenance, Town Hall Heroes, Heroes Forge, Heroes Hype, and of course, Lords of the Storm. Split into several teams. We are in Team Lords of the Hype Forge. Our team...
The best name.
Video, I believe, is on
Agreed.
Twitter that you guys can check out, that TBK is introducing us in. But it should be a good time. Multi and I didn't compete in this last year, but we're happy to do it this year.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to it. It's one where there's different game modes as well. Like it's not just straight up super serious the whole time. I mean, I'm going to take it super seriously like I always do, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I believe our first game is going to be game number 4 at 3 p.m. And we're going to be playing Troll and Blizz on Lost Cavern in Sexy Picard. So it's going to be an ARAM.
That's right. All we have to do is outpick them.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
And then, so it's going to be, I think, a round robin.
Oh, we're actually in the third game.
Yeah, the third.
2:25 Eastern.
Oh, yeah. So we're in the third and fourth. So 225, Infernal Shrines, All Warriors. Another interesting one. But yes,
We're gonna really need to. We really need to like get together before this thing happens.
We at least
and
need to come up with a
discuss
comp.
some strategies. Yeah.
Yeah.
that would probably.
Do we know, is
be
it
good.
blind pick or is it
just
draft?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. We'll
Don't
find
know.
out. We'll find out.
Yeah.
We could just go into it blind. Just improvise. No big deal.
Agreed.
We got this.
Yep. But it's going to be a round robin where we're all going to play all the teams for the seeding for the playoffs, and then it's going to be best of 3 semifinals and finals to determine the winner, which of course is going to be Lords of the Hype Forge. But make sure and check that out. Always a good time. As we kind of alluded to earlier, voice chat, which has been in PTR for like a month, maybe not quite a month now, is in the game, kind of out of nowhere. They're like, oh, here's a patch, and voice chat has entered. And I imagine everyone was like, oh boy, here we go. But surprisingly, I haven't had too many experiences yet. I've played a handful of games since voice chat's been entered, and I'd say 50% of the games, people don't get in the voice chat, and the other has been really quiet. Like, it's not like people are actually using it. They're just like, oh, hey, what's up? Yep, good game, which is fine. That's, no different. People just aren't comfortable using it yet. But on Twitter, I've seen really good things about it and nothing bad yet. Multi, how have your experiences been?
I've played one game with it so far, and it's kind of similar to what you were talking about, except it was just and then we had an Ana on our team. It was actually really good, despite the fact that we ended up losing. And it was just the two of us kind of talking back and forth. The rest of the team was silent. I know I had one of our listeners from the channel in there with me too, and he just didn't have a mic, which totally fine. But yeah, this guy and I were constructive. I mean, it was a Dragonshire map where we were kind of struggling to win on the points, and that ended up being a problem. But we still were able to coordinate, like, okay, they've brought 4 to the top. Let's come down here. And it was kind of up in the air as to whether or not our teammates were even in the team chat, of course, because it is an option you can choose. But I mean, I don't know. The guy seemed nice. We were even kind of like talking back and forth about the chat itself and how clear it sounds and everything. Mm-hmm. So I mean, as a first impression, I think it went okay.
Yeah.
So.
And the quality on it is great. It is really, works really well. And yeah, one of the game I had where we had the most communication, I guess, was even just I think it was like 2, maybe 3 of us talking occasionally, but even the people that weren't speaking hopped in voice chat just so they could hear us, and they would respond through in text, which is fine. But it's easy enough to get in and out of. Once you get the load up screen, you'll see the icon up in the upper left corner that you can just leave it. Or once you get in the game, you hit tab. There's a button to join team chat. And then if you're in a party, there's a party chat button, which you'll automatically be in. But one thing I don't know, well, I guess it would be confusing if you could be in team chat even if all your party wasn't, because then your team would hear you talking to somebody else. But you can only be in one or the other. So if you're in a party, you either all need to join the team chat or just stay in your party chat, which works fine. TBK, how have your experiences been?
I've only had a few games so far, but it's not been bad. I think Blizzard has implemented it about as well as they could. Honestly, there's it's very good quality, like you said. It's basically BattleNet chat quality, which is awesome. It's an opt-in, not an opt-out, so you don't even have to recognize it.
Yep.
Like, you can just continue playing the game as you normally did, and nothing has to change at all. It'll give you, if you want, there's a ton of settings. It'll give you a little notification, say, hey, you can join team chat now. That's great. Okay, click ignore. And it shows you how many people are in the actual chat. And then in the upper right, it actually shows you who's talking while you're talking, which is super nice as well, to recognize, put like the voices to the names. So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably going to be used more in Hero League Team League than it is in something like Quick Match, maybe somewhere in Unranked. I don't expect it to be a huge Quick Match thing, just because kind of Quick Match is a little more all over the place anyways. But like you said, I've already seen there's 1 or 2 Reddit threads already praising voice chat and how good it's been. There's all my Twitter feed so far has been nothing but positive.
Yeah.
Like it's been very much this is helping Hero League tremendously. This is going to raise the skill of people. This is going to just raise like overall heroes and such. And it's awesome too, because if you're someone who wants a shot call and you're good at it, you can get in there and you can do your thing. And if you don't want to do that, you can get in, listen, you don't have to talk. And in fact, it actually, the default is push to talk, not open mic. So you actually have to change it to open mic if you want to do that. Just make sure that you adjust your sensitivity levels so that people don't hear the clickety clack and the white noise and the breathing and such.
What are you talking about, TVK?
Yeah, the sensitivity levels actually work pretty well because I have a mechanical keyboard and stuff, and I'm able to get it down.
turn mine way down.
Yeah, well, I'm able to get down to where, like, a lot of games or applications that have something like that, if I turn it down low enough where my keyboard isn't picked up, I have to purposefully like speak a little louder. To whereas this, I've found a solid line to where I can just talk normally, but it's still not going to pick up the clicks, which is good because I don't have to be wondering if they're hearing me or not if I'm not yelling. But yeah, I think the real test will be in ranked play in Hero League. Again, it's been good so far. Let's keep the happy clouds going, keep the sad and angry clouds away from the
mount
voice
up on
chat.
those happy clouds. Absolutely.
If for some reason you hear somebody getting abused, speak up.
Yeah,
agreed.
For sure.
This is a good way to do that. I think, especially in a game I know there's been problems with things like Overwatch, toxicity in voice chat before and such. I think there will probably be less of that in Heroes just because it is a much slower paced compared to Overwatch, much less like adrenaline pumping thing. And so you're not go all the time. And
it brings
I think
in a different crowd.
That's
some of the Overwatch people have been on Xbox Live since they were 5 and have been cussing people out in Call of Duty, whatever, for as long as they've been breathing almost. Here in Heroes, I don't know. I think it just speaks to our community as well in general that I just have never even, with some exceptions, of course, I generally think of most games as just being, if there's some typing, it's either something constructive, or yeah, maybe there's a little salt near the end of a losing game, but nothing so crazily egregious as what you could pretty regularly hit in Overwatch. So yeah, no, I think, and that's a good point too, TBK, to make sure that we're calling people out on it, because I mean, really, in the end, this community is what we want it to be, and things like using the reporting feature, as well as, you know, just being like, hey, no, look, not cool. Let's go get the objective, something like that, because the last thing we want to see, of course, with any of these forms of communication is straight up abuse, as we've seen in some other games, based on any number of factors. So just keep your eyes out for it, and also keep your eyes out for as well just your team and whether or not everyone's opted into the chat, because you may have some situations where you think everyone's on board, you're making these cool shot calls, and then that Zagara's just doing nothing, and it's like, oh, Zag's not been in the chat the whole time. I should have possibly pinged a few things too. So you just kind of got to be cognizant of all that.
No, that's a good point.
Sure.
And TBK pointed out something I think really important that I want to add on to. If you hear something, you know, somebody being picked on, something that's completely inappropriate for voice chat, stick up for somebody. And I think it is extremely important to do that at this point, at this stage.
Ooh, this early, yeah.
Yeah, this early on. Because, you know, not just reporting them, but actually stick up for each other. If we can do that and, you know, make the, you know, jerks or whatever you want to call them kind of take a step back, like, oh, you know, people are sticking up for each other, maybe we can nip it in the butt before it ever even actually becomes like a widespread problem. Not that it will, but just, you know, it's a new thing. Somebody wants to get brave and think they're cool on the internet. They're not, and they won't want to do it again.
I mean, honestly, just from a humanity perspective, it is much harder to say things to somebody not quite face to face, but when you're hearing each other than just typing anonymously. And so I think that alone will probably be somewhat of a deterrent. There, of course, will still be people who do it, but you will be able to individually mute anybody you want to.
Yes.
So just remember, you have that option to just leave the voice completely or mute individual people from a voice perspective. And not only that, Blizzard has actually added a new reporting option called abusive voice that you can use to report players specifically for misbehavior over voice. And they also say they've additionally implemented a voice silence penalty that's separate from chat silence penalties. And this means players who are frequently reported for abusive voice can receive a voice silence, which will prevent them from speaking in team voice for the duration. Honestly, if you really think about it, I would almost prefer that the abusive voice, the voice silence, and the chat silence be one and the same. Because if you're going to be silenced from chat, I don't trust you for voice either.
And vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa. So, I mean, honestly, I really do hope that they just kind of roll that into one. I think that would probably, in the long run, take care of a lot more stuff than having them be separate penalties.
Yeah, potentially. And yeah, just in case we didn't clarify, all that stuff is on the tab screen. And I believe to mute, I haven't muted anyone yet, but I feel like I remember seeing once you're in the chat, there's like a microphone next to each person that's in the chat, and you can just click that to mute them. So yeah, easy to do, real quick. But that wasn't the only thing in this patch. It was a balance patch after all. And Maiev did get hit again. So the developer comments are talking about how the last changes they made kind of helped bring her win rate down to mortal levels, but she's still a little bit too powerful overall, so they nerfed her health some more. Cooldown of Vault of the Wardens increased to 9 seconds, so that's up by 1. Fan of Knives damage down from 170 to 162, and then a couple changes to her level 16 talent tier. Armored Assault damage bonus reduced from 25 to 20, and Vengeful Knives bonus damage per hero hit increased from 1 to 1.2%. She still seems pretty darn good, and hopefully they keep making these little tweaks till she feels like she's in a good spot. And I'm again super happy with that hero release. I think it went over really well.
Agreed. And this is still big. I mean, it comes off as just numbers, but when you think about how much of the damage is Fan of Knives, for instance, that's It doesn't look like a big number. 8. 8 is the difference. But it is when you add it up over the course of a game.
Yeah, when you add up your like scaling per level and all that stuff,
all that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
equals out
It,
or adds
it
up.
was probably needed.
Oh, yeah.
She came. I mean, she came out really strong, and the nerfs they did right away were a really good option. Honestly, I liked that they didn't nerf too hard, and they just kind of they're just like, okay, we're just gonna tone down a little bit because we know she's crazy, and then they waited for a little more data, and then they made a next set of smaller tweaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see if there's anything for her next week. Malthael has been tweaked a little bit. So he's been a little bit too powerful in the early game in the lane bullying, it looks like. So
Little bit. New Malthael, if you haven't played him yet, was actually a little ridiculous because if you haven't played him in a while, his auto attacks cleave now, which was pretty insane after it was all said and done out in the wild and playing against him. With Soul Rip and just being able to spread his mark, especially in like close quarters team fights, was so hard to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they made some tweaks here. His Soul Rip mana cost has been increased. Healing reduced from 36 to 25 per target hit. And
That's big.
But they also, then the healing from heroic targets has been increased from 3 to 4% of the hero's maximum health. So it's just when you are in those one-on-one lane situations, he doesn't have as much sustain, but it still gets, helped out in the big team fights. So it kind of balances itself out there. And then Tormented Souls, cooldown reduced from 100 to 80 seconds. A couple talent changes, Die Alone at 4, damage bonus reduced from 75 to 50%, and Soul Collector at 16, bonus range reduced from 50 to 25%. So he's got to get in there a little bit more. Thrall, Chain Lightning, bounce range increased by 20%. Hey,
It's
Thrall,
just more
haven't-
bouncy.
haven't
Tiny
seen ya.
tweaks.
Haven't seen you in a long time. It's good.
I like that he's bouncy
They've,
now.
if you've noticed, though, they've been doing small little buffs to him for the last several patches, and I have a feeling he's going to be like stealth, pretty strong
Yeah, stealth OP.
here soon.
Yeah, well, it's like when you see, if there's a hero you haven't played in a while because you think they're a little weak, you see balance changes like this, it's like, oh, okay, 20% range increase, but you don't remember all the other small changes they've been making. So it's just one of these weeks, someone's going to play and be like, holy crap, and it's going to be a thing.
I feel like I heard one of the casters of HGC mention that he's kind of a sleeper pick. I can't cite who or what series it was in, but I distinctly heard it, so it's possible. Maybe that's a pocket strat in the Western Clash we don't know about.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll bring Thrall into the old creators of the storm. I don't know. Zeratul got some little buffs here. Cleave damage increase from 200 to 212. That's pretty big. Singularity Spike, damage increase from 228 to 240. That's pretty big. Void Prison, mana cost reduced from 100 to 80. And then Might of the Nerazim, basic attack damage bonus reduced from 40 to 30. So, when you get damage buffs to 2 of your 3 basic abilities, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
And I have played against the Zeratul today, and he does seem to hurt a little bit. So,
Yeah, and they talk about in the developer comment that it's a redistributing of the damage because they did take some away from that new ultimate, but I kind of want to try him out again. I think he's fun post rework.
I've never been a great Zeratul player, but
I haven't really either, but it's approachable.
Yeah,
It's doable.
doable. Zool here as well, health increase, basic attack damage increase, and his ability is Ray of Skeleton has gotten some changes. His trait, Skeletal Warrior health reduced, and Skeletal Warrior damage reduced. So those were a little bit too strong. However, Bone Prison, his E cooldown reduced from 12 to 10 seconds, and the mana cost reduced from 80 to 70, as well as his level 7 Tragul's Essence, mana restoration per skeletal warrior attack reduced from 0.5 to 0.2% of Zool's maximum mana. See, when I'm starting to get sick, this would have been the perfect week for me to do the Valentine's Day entrance because I have
because your voice is
I have a
becoming
little
deeper.
raspiness.
Hey, those are the best times.
I just hit puberty between last week and this week, so
We know.
I do want
we
to point
watched
out
it
too.
happen.
These patch notes are actually worth jumping on and reading because there's really, really good developer commentary in these notes, almost for everything actually, which is super nice.
Yeah, normally there's like one or two, and for like everything except for Thrall and Tyrande, I think pretty much all the small.
I wish that
changes.
they had written one. I wish they had written one for Tyrande that's like, because her change is light of a loon, cooldown reduced from 12 to 11 seconds. I want them to write one out that's like, developer comment. We were looking at Tyrande and we felt that the cooldown should be reduced by 1 second. Just something dumb like that. So please, if whoever's writing these listens to this, that would tickle me. That's all.
Okay, yeah.
Just takes a couple keystrokes.
Sonya as well, the only warrior to get some changes here. Basic attack damage reduced from 88 to 84. Poisoned Spear at 7. Damage reduced from 125% to 100% of Ancient Spear's damage. And didn't that just get nerfed a few patches ago as well? And it got nerfed again?
Read the developer commentary, Greg.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Okay. And then level
They
16.
even have a link to the patch.
Level 16, Nerves of Steel. Duration reduced from 5 to 3. Shield amount reduced from 30 to 25%. And cooldown reduced from 70 to 60. Developer comment, we originally applied these adjustments in a patch January 24th, but Sonya was so eager to get back in the battle, she forgot to take them with her. Interesting. So we're giving the changes back to her. So those never even made it through. I didn't know.
Nope.
I didn't either.
Was that like a known thing? Did people figure that out?
I think people figured it out after a bit. At least because I know Poison Spear was and may still be the really popular talent choice, because I remember seeing a thread about the damage reduction wasn't actually in or something. And I guess everything wasn't in.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Bug fixes. That's one of the bug fixes right there. They fixed it. Good job. But this is a really solid balance patch, I think. They hit on quite a few heroes, but there's nothing huge like that's too hard to soak in. I like it. I can dig it.
Yeah.
So keep your eye on those. Check them out. See what you like. It's almost time for the HGC.
The HGC.
So let's hop into that. Righto. TBK.
Okay, this weekend on the HGC.
Oh god, we just lost
okay.
everybody.
Yeah. No.
on the HGC. You're not. How do you pronounce his last name? I feel bad. Paul Shaloner.
I don't even know.
Isn't that like?
Were you going with the hello, governor?
I don't even
is that
know
the
what I was
accent you were doing?
It just kind of came out. I don't even know what it was. We're transitioning back to NA with my American accent. This was actually, it was a shorter weekend. Only Friday and Saturday had games, but Team Freedom actually ended up beating Simplicity 3-1, which secured them their spot. Unfortunately, Gale Force, who is up against Tempo Storm and needed to, I believe, either 3-0 or 3-1 them to secure their spot, had a much tougher time, and Tempo Storm got the 3-0 on them. And then, interestingly enough, on Saturday, Heroes Hearth then just needed to beat LFM to secure their spot.
Actually, I think they could have lost, but only had to win one game. I think as long as they won one game.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I think they had to do 2 games
I don't remember
better
the break.
than
There was
Force,
a ton of
like
breakdowns.
Oh yeah.
On all the different situations. But interestingly enough, LFM almost beat them. It went to a 5-game series, and it was actually a really, really good series. But Heroes Hearth was able to pull it out in the end and win 3-2. And then Team 12 back to form with a 3-0 over Space Station Gaming. Mm-hmm. So it was a good weekend of games, though.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, honestly, like I hate to say this because I don't want to be the guy that says I prefer less content to watch, but at the same time, the 2-day format was super digestible. Like I kind of liked it in a way to just have these to tune into. I don't know. I'm torn, of course.
Yeah.
But
Would you because they still need to get the 6 games in on usual weeks. Would you like to see them go to a 2-day, 3 games per day?
almost, honestly.
I think that'd be a
In
super
particular
long day for
because
casters, but
yeah, that's true.
That would be a
might
really
too much.
long day
That might
because
be
that's
too much.
potentially
15 games.
15 games.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Oh
point.
my gosh, that would be so long. Yeah, that'd be a long viewer day too. I do want to mention as well before we jump into the Western Clash stuff. Dignitas apparently heard me say that they were on a whole nother level last week because then they decided to go and get brought down to earth as Zealots actually beat them and caused Team Dignitas to take their first loss of the season in a 3-1 fairly commanding fashion.
I have a theory on this though, because I was totally with you last week on that. I actually watched all of
go
Dig
ahead.
that week. This time, I mean, yes, okay. So game 1, I was already starting to think, oh, Zealots are putting up a bigger fight than either of the teams last week, which I think were Liquid and Fnatic, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty big deal. But so this time around, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from the Zealots win because they did win commandingly, like you said. But at the back of my mind, I'm starting to think, did Dig know that they had already clinched the Western Clash and thus not want to show any of the strats they're working on for the Western Clash? Are they holding back? I'm not sure.
I feel like they're good enough that they shouldn't have to necessarily do that.
True.
Or Zealots was just playing out of their minds, which
No, and that's just
there's
as possible.
definitely was some of that going on
yeah.
in that game.
Yeah, like I said, I don't mean to take anything away from their win, but yeah, it was unexpected. It's a good upset.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So all of that basically culminated and clinched the final spots to the Western Clash, which Blizzard released a nice little article about IEM coming up here very soon. $100,000 up for grabs. Remember, Team Dignitas has taken the trophy from this event for 2 years in a row, and they're looking to three-peat again this year. So it'll be really interesting to see how this goes, and this will be the first time we've seen this new batch of NA teams come up against Europe, and that's always kind of the thing in the back of everybody's mind. Okay, NA is looking better this year than it was last year. There's a lot more competitive teams, but how do we face up against Europe?
Yeah, which again is going to be in Katowice. Katowice.
I think it's Katowice.
Katowice?
I don't know how we have any European listeners.
Gosh, I remember last year it was something with pizza. That's all I want to
We're
say.
sorry,
I think
guys.
it's Katowice, yeah.
Katowice.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes, so it is there again, which is exciting. But
We
yeah,
apologize so much.
Hey, it's definitely not Katowice, okay? We know
Katowice.
we're better than that.
Katowice. We're apologize for horrible accents and mispronunciations of European cities.
but no, I was so up until this week, I was really excited for this. To like, all right, what's NA gonna do? What's NA gonna do? I'm really excited. And then all of a sudden, these brackets came out, and I'm really nervous for how we're gonna do. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So just for the format of this tournament, teams are going to be seeded based on current HGC standings into a double elim bracket, which I actually really like the double elim tournaments, honestly.
Me too.
Day one matches are going to be best of 3. All remaining matches will be best of 5, except for the best of 7 grand finals, which I also love. It gives a lot of leeway for just, oh crap, we got cheesed or something in one map or from one comp.
Was it
That's
BlizzCon finals only best of 5?
I seem to think so, and I think there were some
Yeah, 'cause I
complaints
think
about
that's
it.
what
Yes,
we had the issue
BlizzCon
with
finals was best of 5, and it was the whole BlizzCon finals, I think we talked about that a while ago. I don't think anyone was super happy with how that tournament format ended up. Like before, the team coming into the grand final with no match losses from the upper bracket will start with a 1 battleground advantage in the series. The casters for the Western Clash this year will be Jayhow, Kaldor, Trixler, Gilly, and the return of Dreadnought, which should be a lot of fun. And then Vandy from over on the ANZ side. So this will be her first big tournament casting, I guess. So it's super exciting to see new blood coming up from some of the other regions too.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Absolutely. But yes, so for the brackets themselves here, first game of the tournament is my boys Heroes Hearth taking on Dig.
We got this, fam.
That is going to be a rough opener.
For anyone, frankly.
Hey,
for anyone.
Zealots beat them. Heroes Hearth can beat them too. You know,
yeah, maybe they're on a downward trend.
They're feeling down right now.
Zealots did beat them.
It is double limb though, so worst case scenario, you know,
they can make their way through. Yeah, they can make their way through, and I really do like the way it's seeded because it is NA versus EU in each bracket, each first bracket match. So, like you said, Dig versus Heroes Hearth to start us off on Friday. Then Team 12 versus Method, then Tempo Storm versus Zealots, and then Fnatic versus Team Freedom.
It's a fun setup unless NA loses all 4 of them. In which
if
case,
NA
I would
loses
be
all
having
4
less
of them,
fun.
I will be super sad. You got this, guys. I believe in you.
Hey, but it's I don't know. Yeah, hopeful. Fingers crossed.
It starts at 4 a.m. Central Time.
On Friday. Yeah,
Friday.
That's gonna happen.
So, woo! And this is next Friday, not this Friday.
Yeah, March 2nd.
Right. We got this weekend. This weekend is off. So watch Creators of the Storm. Because that'll be your HGC on Saturday. But yeah, this is March 2nd through March 4th. So definitely check that out. This is gonna be. I'm super excited. I don't know if I'm going to be getting up at 4 a.m. on Friday. I kind of want to, but that sounds ridiculous. I don't know. We'll see.
Is there a way to get an IV drip of coffee straight into your veins? Because if I could do that, I could maybe do it.
I'm working a double Friday, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to wake up the extra hours before work.
I will most definitely have a secondary screen on at work with Heroes in the background.
How do you get a job like that? You even work where I work. How do we?
How do you? My brother texts.
I don't have a lot of meetings. I just have technical work. I do.
All I have is
so it's much easier. It's hard to watch things in the background when you have meetings. Wait, hold that call. Someone push the mute button. The big moment's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a team fight going on, people. Come on.
Yeah, my brother just texted me today.
Pause.
He's like, I haven't gotten much work done the past couple of days. I just beat Disc 2 of Final Fantasy 9. It's like, okay, why can't I do that? That sounds fun. So looking at the bracket here, however, what we'll say 2. What 2 rounds do you think NA has the best chance of moving on to, the round 2?
I'm going to go with Team 12 over Method. I think that, even without Glau, that roster has proven itself in clashes before, and Method's good, but I think there's a shot there. Also, for me too, Tempo Storm over Zealots. What do you think, TBK?
Oh, this is rough. Just kind of looking at it. I'm gonna go with the Tempo Zealots one. Probably is gonna be pretty close. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to say, as much as I love some of our teams, I'm going to have to say Team 12 Method, Tempo Storm Zealots. I think those probably have the best chance. I hope to be surprised. I honestly hope to be surprised. Mm-hmm. But the Dig Heroes Hearth one, that's a David Goliath matchup. which David did technically win. So, so there's the, now that I say that, it's more like, no, I'm just going to keep going with that analogy. That's good. So I'm hoping for the David in that situation. And then Fnatic has definitely not been as strong as they were last year. And I think part of that is, you swapping players, you're still getting used to things and whatnot, but they are still very strong.
And they play super well at lands. So
yeah,
that's true.
So I think Team Freedom's going to have their work cut out for them first round.
Yep.
What was the secret there? Like he put a rock in a sling, right? And just threw it really hard.
Yep. Right in between the eyes.
I don't know if that's going to be
Headshot?
an option here.
That might
Yeah,
get
probably
you
get
a ban.
disqualified.
That might get you disqualified if you do that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be it's for some of the Heroes Heart players, this is going to be their first LAN experience. Period. And so because you look at some of these teams, Team 12 has LAN experience. Dignitas has LAN experience. Tempo Storm's got LAN experience. Fnatic's got LAN experience. Team Freedom has some, and the others, some players from the other teams have some LAN experience. Heroes Hearth, only two people?
Three.
I think three. Arthalon too.
Yeah.
So three of them will have LAN experience. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how much nerves play a factor in some of these things, because some teams, like you said, Gizmo, do really well and just come alive at lands. Like when crowd is cheering and stuff's going on, everything falls into place. Fnatic was very much, like you said, a team that just excels at lands. So it'll be interesting to see how much of a factor that plays in this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, and it's going to be exciting to watch. Hopefully, we can catch it live, but if not, as we've talked about before, the HGC website has excellent ways to catch up without seeing any spoilers. So
The what website? I thought it was called HGC.
the HGC for this weekend, and I'm going to go ahead.
I'm not even going to try.
I'm clicking
gonna
that
try.
spoilers button right now just in case I forget. So, bam.
Oh, yeah, good call. I'm
Good
doing the
call.
same.
Good call.
You're welcome. So let's go ahead and move on. TBK community content this week. What do we got going?
So this came from a Reddit post a few days ago, and I thought it was kind of interesting and might make kind of an interesting discussion. It's called Ultimates with Less Than 20% Pick Rate. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is.
So here we go. Lily Water Dragon, only 7.4%. Probius Nullgate at 18.1. Kerrigan Ultralisk at 15.6. Jaina Water Elemental at 16.9. Medevac Dropship on Morales for 17.3. Frost Blast on Kel'Thuzad for 12.6. Lightning Breath on Diablo for 5.1. Locust Swarm on Anubarak for 17.9. Alexstrasza Lifebinder, 5.6. Bloodlust on Rhaegar, 6.7. Stage Dive on ETC, 17. Lucio Reverse Amp, 2.1.
Oh, yeah. I believe that one.
Gul'dan Reign of Destruction, 5.7. Murden Haymaker for 18.1. And then Ariel Resurrect for 9.5. And so just kind of looking through these, I thought this was really interesting because Blizzard, especially lately, for the most part, has done a really good job going back and balancing things. But there's sometimes some very obvious reasons why one heroic is picked over another. Sometimes those can be cooldown reduction differences. If one heroic is going to be a drastically lower cooldown than the other heroic, most of the time that heroic will be picked. Case in point for Kel'Thuzad. When you have a 15 or 20 second heroic, that's what you're going to go for over a 70, 80, 90 second heroic because you can press the button more. If the heroic has CC involved, it's usually going to be more popular. Case in point, the Anubarak Locust Swarm versus Cocoon, or Diablo, Lightning Breath versus Apocalypse. And so, or if the ultimate has heavy mobility or a healing factor, versus another thing. So like Alex Strauss is a great example of this. Not only does she become completely immune during, gosh, I can't remember her other
Rain of
cleansing.
Rain of
I don't think it's
cleansing flame.
Cleansing flame,
fire?
maybe. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember it exactly. But basically, you jump up, you're immune, and not only can you do damage, you heal too, and then you can reposition yourself at the end of it.
Yeah.
Where her life binder is a situational ancestral that is has much higher requirements than ancestral does.
Cleansing flame.
There
By the
it
way.
is. Yeah.
Okay, so
Rain of
close.
Fire was a really bad movie from the early 2000s.
Is that the one with the
Could be.
dragons and
Yeah.
Christian Bale?
Yeah.
I liked that one. I
Really?
like that one.
I kind of want to see it now, based on that cast, including dragons.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
good. And then finally, the other big reason is randomness. If you have targeted versus random elements, then the targeted ultimate is probably going to be more popular. And that's Gul'dan is probably the biggest example of that one. Reign of Destruction can be absolutely incredible if you are the luckiest person alive, or it can be completely worthless.
Or ARAM.
Yeah.
ARAM is really great as well.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room to
So-
run. That's true.
So what do you guys think?
It's really
Any
interesting.
surprises on here? Or
Yeah.
not really?
There are some for me, yeah.
Water Dragon, I feel is a little low. I think that's a good ult, although we've seen kind of double support not be as big of a thing, so you don't have as much damage Lily. Probius Nullgate, I love Nullgate. I prefer it much more than his other. I don't even know what his other one's called.
Who cares? It's got lasers. I choose lasers.
But you can have lasers, kind of. You got your photon cannon still. The Nullgate, like that's a huge slow, and on a shorter cooldown.
I feel like that's actually a sleeper OP.
yeah, it's
heroic.
really good heroic. Summon Ultralisk, worst heroic in the game. So
Possibly, yeah.
15.6%.
Yeah.
It's not the worst, but 15.6%.
It's the
That's actually
same thing
surprising
as
to me.
water elemental, kinda.
Except the water elemental
Worse.
one does
Except
actually kind of
worse.
surprise me here, because you can see
Yeah.
it in HGC some. They use it as a slowing mechanism as well as just another body on the board. And I think it is good, but I think the reason water elemental is low in just general picking is because you don't as easily get to be the playmaker. With Ring of Frost, you get that, not only the big CC,
Sure.
but if you land your combo really well in quick match and
Well, yeah, it's
lower hero league, you have won the fight,
It's a
maybe
game
by
changer.
yourself.
Mhm.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I get that for general pick rates, but I have always liked water elemental. I think it's good. It's
Yeah,
just
I think-
and it's on the higher end too. I mean, 16. Okay, yes, that's still terrible overall, but like it's not 2.1 on Lucio's reverse amp.
Yeah,
That's not a surprise to anyone.
No.
I think the one that's most interesting to me is the Frost Blast,
Yeah.
because Frost Blast on Kel'Thuzad is actually a really good heroic. The problem is you're up against an extremely short cooldown global damage heroic.
Good point. I also think Alex's Lifebinder's potentially a really good heroic. I think it could be better than Rhaegar's Ancestral in some situations. It's just situational in that way. Like, she has to have the health to pull that off. And then, I mean, just the Cleansing Flame, for all the reasons you just mentioned, it's just that better in some ways. So
No, it's the overall thing is like this just brings up the discussion again, or I think of kind of reworks and like if they consider going back and reworking any of these heroics
they
instead of
might.
just tweaking damage and cooldowns, because like literally summon Ultralisk just it blows my mind that that's at 15.6. It really does, but.
I feel like people only pick it so that they can see what it looks like with different skins.
Yeah. Well,
Especially the legendary skin, because it
Oh,
actually
yeah.
looks really cool with legendary.
It is very cool. So
but
there's that.
in reverse amp at 2.1%, like that is real low. I'm interested to know what Sylvanas' possession was while that was still a
I was
heroic.
just about to say that. I bet it was on the lower end, even
But
so.
I bet it was higher than 2.1.
Possibly. So, but I mean, that's the threshold, right? Because that's one of the main like overarching lower picks that they did rework into something that I that one game I played today was against a mind control Sylvanas. So I mean,
Yeah.
it happens.
And I don't think that all of these having that some heroics having a low pick rate is actually a bad thing in all situations. Like
No.
stage dive is a great example of that.
Well, in medevac.
That's a great example of in medevac too. Yeah, that's a great example of very powerful heroics that are just very situational. But when the situation arises, they can be game changers. Whereas some of these, it doesn't matter the situation. The other is always going to be better. So because like Haymaker, Stage Dive, Bloodlust, potentially Medevac, like you said, and even Water Dragon to an extent, all have situations that they can be more powerful than the other ult. But then things like Lightning Breath or Reverse Amp or Rain of Destruction, it's just like there's really never a situation where that's going to get more value than the other one.
I don't know. I could make an argument for Lightning Breath. It's definitely not as good, but I mean, if you're against a really hyper-mobile team and they can just move out of it, then out of the apocalypse, I should say. Well, I guess you'd have the same problem.
Then they would
Lightning
move
Breath,
out of
so-
the Lightning Breath.
Yeah, well, hey, you know.
Reign of
Can't win 'em all.
Destruction, they need to make it like if they changed it to where, okay, it's still this big area, but like the center of where you cast it is guaranteed to get a certain amount of damage, would make that just so much better and playable, because then you can go and pair that up with things like Ring of Frost or a Mosh Pit or any other wombo combo. But it being 100% luck is just... ugh.
Or they reduce the damage maybe a little bit to compensate and make it to where he doesn't have to channel it. He just throws it up. It's like a really big Starfall. I mean, it's still random.
If there's no channel, I'm not even sure they have to... Well, yeah, if they nerf the damage, yeah.
I mean, Horrify might still be better in that situation, but
You
I
gave me
mean,
a
I
really
could see
good
it as
idea.
a zoning thing.
What?
You gave me a really good idea, Greg, because I was just thinking about the tech that they use for Alexstras's Cleansing Flame. It would be really cool if instead of the way Reign of Destruction works now, if Gul'dan still channeled and got a number of fell meteors that he could drop. Let's say between 4 and 6. You get the channel bar and you get the indicator, and you pretty much have his entire... I mean, Reign of Destruction is huge. You've got that entire space, and then you can use your mouse cursor to point down where these meteors drop. And then that would give him, it would still involve the channel element, so you'd still have to do it safely, but it would give you a lot more control, and you could have these really cool moments of these big meteors just smashing down into the ground, you know, at a slight delay of where your cursor is, and then your cursor does the little recharge thing to show how long you have until the next meteor comes down. I think that'd be really cool.
It would be sweet, but now that we're talking about this more, I don't want any of this to happen because it'll make Gul'dan that much more scary. Because it's like, oh, I finally got away from him. Nope, there's Meteor chasing.
I don't know. A lot of what we just discussed even is still not as good as Horrify, especially the 21 where you reduce their armor. It's just so good. But yeah, I think
you have to put yourself in more danger for Horrify, though.
That is true. That is true. I do have one more stat on these for you guys, actually, too. So Muradin, 18.1% of the players take Haymaker. And of those, 0.1% use it correctly. The other 18 just knock the enemy heroes to safety.
It's true.
It's so true.
I like the idea behind that heroic, though. It's a fun heroic.
Yeah.
So you keep doing you 18.1% of people. Especially the 18% that saved me. We had a I guess you weren't there, TBK, but we had a Haymaker Muradin in our Blackheart's Bay game. He did save me. It was very nice of him.
I normally get saved by enemy Haymaker Muradins more so than they actually use it to get me killed.
Yeah,
I wasn't joking.
Whenever you do get killed by it, it's like you're not even mad. You're just like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. Well played. A little pat on the back there, sir.
Good job,
You
guy.
did it. We do have quite a few email questions to get to this week, so let's go ahead and jump on into those. All right, Multi. First one up from our first-time writer, Naraki. What do we got?
Yes, very first time. Okay, so Naraki, forgive me yet again. I kind of had to paraphrase it down. It wasn't so long this time, but it was long enough to where I think I've boiled it down to the meat and bones of it. So correct me if I'm wrong. But okay, so Naraki essentially wants us to settle the debate between he and his friend, at least to a degree. So he had a conversation with a friend who dislikes Maiev because he feels like she was introduced to the game to fix the issue of mobility creep with some of the other heroes, like Genji and that sort of thing, by countering them. I mean, it's a point we've talked about several times for sure. And anyway, this friend feels like Blizzard should have fixed those high mobility and dive heroes through reworks, etc., rather than introducing Maiev as the new counter. So this friend thinks that we're kind of putting a Band-Aid on the situation with Maiev and not actually fixing the problem. But Naraki himself actually disagrees, saying that there are already a lot of anti-dive characters in the game, and he's actually just excited to see Maiev and how she works in the meta as an assassin. So it all actually comes down to a question. Should Blizzard introduce heroes like this as meta fixes, quote unquote, or is their attention better spent on reworking the existing heroes that are causing issues within a meta? And I think that's a good one. I mean, this is definitely something that Blizzard takes into consideration. We've heard in the past that in their overall production sequence, they kind of have a lot of the heroes lined up that are coming out at certain times, but they do on occasion make calls based on what the kit's going to work out like, maybe even some of the ordering of some of the heroes. I'm not sure all the details there, but they do definitely try to fix, quote unquote, the meta by introducing some heroes to push it in a different direction. And they do this with the reworks as well. So, I mean, there's both of these things going on at the same time. And I don't think Blizzard should ever let up on the gas pedal on either. But as to a preference myself between the two, I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about this, of course. But I kind of agree with the friend a little bit in that I think reworks could be just as exciting as, if maybe even more so, than bringing in a new hero to fix an issue. Again, I can't pull any examples off the top of my head, but I don't know. I say this at the same time of I'm not really still that thrilled about the overall support nerf, which kind of was that, but across the board for supports. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of torn on this one too. What do you guys think? Make up my mind for me, please.
I'll try and make it up for you. I think every game does this. They introduce new mechanics, and then they introduce new things to help counter those mechanics because it's something that needs to happen. I don't think Maiev was a Band-Aid. I think it's just a character that her fantasy kind of goes with countering the mobility. It was an easy working to do. If there's a rework that they can do to go back and encounter something that's overpowered or getting out of control, sure, do it, but that's not always going to be the case.
Sure.
Without potentially breaking some fantasy or just making the character completely different, which we've seen a couple times, which is fine. It still fits the fantasy, but I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like she was a Band-Aid. I just feel like she's a cool hero that entered the game and happened to be a super great answer for an issue that we were having in the game. Yeah, I don't.
And also just fun on her own.
Yeah,
right?
I mean you want new things to come out with the new heroes. You don't want all the new things coming out from just reworks. I think it just works both ways. I don't know. DBK.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind too that Blizzard is not necessarily putting a hero out to fix a particular issue or a new hero, because these heroes have like 9-month incubation times. Mm-hmm. So when Maiev was conceived, when she was conceived, I don't know how much of an issue the mobility stuff was. all the way back then. And so she may have been originally kind of concepted as an anti-mobility type hero, but I don't think it was necessarily an answer to something specific that was going on then, because then that answer wouldn't come for 9 months. And so I think reworks in some ways are a lot. If Blizzard wanted a hero to be an answer to something, you'd probably see that in the form of a rework, because reworks are on a much quicker timeline from what they've told us than just brand new heroes. I think it's more if a new hero comes out and they just happen to come out at a time when some of their new mechanics can counter something that's been an issue. I think in some ways that's just like a bonus, right? But I don't know if that was specifically planned either. I don't know. I agree with Greg in that Blizzard needs new mechanics to keep things fresh. And then there will be new mechanics to counter some of those mechanics. And sometimes it can be a little awkward when those or a counter to some sort of mechanic is only really on like one person. And you can, so like for the longest time, I believe it was Varian was the only hero that actually had a direct shield counter. And so shields were incredibly strong. They weren't necessarily as prevalent, but they're like for Artanis, for Tassadar especially, when Tassadar has been going in and out. Varian's Shattering Throw is the only thing that really directly countered shields just besides raw damage. Now we have several heroes with shield countering talents of some sort in the game. And so I think it's just one of those things is that those things are kind of introduced over time.
Yeah. I would agree with that assessment. Next one we got here from, I don't know because the name's not in it.
Thermal Donkey.
Oh, there we go. I was looking at the other thing. Okay.
That's okay. Yeah, Thermal Donkey, which, by the way, the name I have decoded. Good call, sir.
I saw that.
Anyway, so, okay, and this is a really good one actually to bring up this week because this is the week they introduced voice chat, and that's another avenue for this kind of thing to happen in, so it's something to caution people about and also give some feedback for them. So, and here it goes. He writes, for the Zorlord's consideration, I'm one of those people that have a much easier time understanding something than actually executing it. After spending the past few months soaking in all the knowledge I can from the HGC and this wonderful podcast, thank you. I feel like I have a general good concept of the theory behind HOTS, or about as good a concept as I've been able to piece together for only being around the game for a few months. Unfortunately, this theoretical knowledge doesn't translate to technical skill in game, and I find myself on the losing team most of the time. I've recently met the requirements to queue for Hero League and have been churning through my placements there as a means of gauging my progress over time. Not because I expect to be anywhere higher than bronze or silver for a while. When I had an especially egregious performance on Volskaya last weekend, it was in this match that I was given a task I hadn't met before. Me playing a Vala against a very proficient Chromie. I won't go into many details, but the short of it was that her attack range seemed to vastly outscale my own, and I found myself out of position a lot, trying to poke her, and just basically had the worst game anyone's ever had. My team was not pleased. So the question, my teammates savagely tore down my hopes of finding a place in Hero League due to my troubles in that game, saying someone at my skill should be in quick match instead. I, however, don't find that to be particularly educational, as no one ever really communicates in my QMs, and I don't really need to learn how the maps play because everyone's always experimenting in quick match. So is it fair for them to throw me back to the world of random comps to quote-unquote figure things out indefinitely? Am I really expected to experience every possible hero matchup there is before entering ranked? I know I've got a lot of practicing to do, but I really don't want to race my entire life in quick match. When do I switch into ranked? So, okay, reading this over, to answer your last question first, when do I switch into ranked? I don't know if this is a popular answer among everyone, but mine is from the gut, kind of from the heart, whenever you dang feel like it. and to heck with those people on your team. Because here's the thing, like, this game is what you want it to be, and if you're kind of new to it and you want to really learn the game in every aspect, I think Hero League, or at least drafting, unranked draft, is a way to do it. I mean, you can kind of see what roles you're strong in, what roles you aren't as strong in. You can encounter matchups like the one that you did and learn from them. And I don't know, like, I hate how your team treated you in this situation, just across the board. I've never enjoyed that when I see it in a game. I mean, even if someone, it's also possible that you were just having a bad day, right? So, I mean, for people to tear you down like that, it kind of grinds my gears to read that in the first place. And I mean, I don't know, man. I would say, honestly, jump in there whenever you're comfortable. If you're super worried about, like, your placement's not going well, or just where you're going to start off on and feel like you want some more practice, then yeah, okay, maybe that's an option. I still might prescribe unranked draft over quick match, but I don't know. When I first read this one, it was already starting to kind of get to me, of like these people tearing him down in a match. But I heard one of you sniggering a second ago.
What? No, your opening response, you sounded like a very protective mother. It was adorable.
A mother? I'm a dad now. I'm a dad joke.
Well, you're just like, you know what? You do it whenever the heck you darn want to.
Well, yes, I can't curse on this podcast. I would have in that situation.
But no, I agree. First off, a good chromie can make your match living hell. Bottom line. If a chromie's on point for a game, and sometimes they are, if you're squishy, it's gonna suck. Two, here's a saying I like to live my life by. Everyone sucks at their own level. The people you are playing with are, what did you say? You're expecting to get placed in bronze or silver? Guess what? They're bronze or silver too. And I'll use a CSGO reference because I have been playing ranked in CSGO lately. Not today because I'm banned. If I have a bad game...
Sorry.
If I have a bad game, like, CSGO extremely toxic, especially with the voice chat.
It's a shooter.
And I shut people up. People are like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are so bad. This is too easy. Easy GG. Easy GG." And it's like, guys, we are playing in Gold Nova. It's like we are all, including you guys, are below the 50th percentile. I was like, you guys are awful at this game too. You're not making any money off it. I was like, just relax. And they're like,
this isn't to say that gold and silver and bronze.
No. I'm just saying, like, this
awful.
is to the point of we all suck at our own level. Like, the people you are playing with are there because for the exact same reason that you are. And
that's true for any level.
Yeah,
technically.
Exactly. That's why. And I got that saying from rock climbing because that's another story. And you're not going to learn everything out of the game. We've been playing Heroes since alpha, and I'm still learning new things every time I play, whether it's how to play a certain hero against another character, how to counter them, or if, to not play that matchup again. And if you're learning all that stuff all the time out of ranked, then with the way the current rank system is, you're not going to climb anywhere because we've already talked about how many games you have to get in ranked if you want to make an impact. So if that's what you're wanting to do, hop in ranked and get some games in, climb. You're going to get bad matchups. You're going to get good matchups. But, play the game however you want to. And I definitely agree with Multi on if you do want to go back to practice some stuff, do the unranked draft instead of quick match. Because that is, you'll learn very little in quick match for the time you'll put into it. TBK?
I mean, you guys covered it really well. It's a game. Play how you want. I mean, that's just kind of it's your gaming time. You can choose how to spend it. Don't let someone else dictate where your gaming time is spent if you want to play a certain mode.
Tell that to my 3-month-old son. He dictates it all the time.
babies and family are exempt from that thing. We're talking random internet strangers, though. They got no say. you can definitely alleviate it a little bit, as we talked about before. Make sure you practice up a few heroes that you feel comfortable with from each role. That can help a lot. Just in general, even if you don't know exactly who you're going up against or what the potential is of the heroes you're going up against, like the other guys have said, unranked draft is a great quote, like safe place where your rank's not going to be affected, but you still will go through the whole rigmarole of draft. And a lot of times you can learn at least some of draft experience, and it's going to be a little more serious of a game than quick match is. But yeah, it all boils down to play what you want to play. I mean, it's your gaming time, so use it in a way that you enjoy. And if you have crap like that, honestly, you can turn off allied chat. If you're having problems with that, turn off allied chat. You won't even see that. You won't even see the negativity come through. And I have definitely played dozens and hundreds of games that have been played only in pings, and it worked out just fine. So,
yeah, that's a really good point. Turn that sucker off. Yeah, and I apologize if my explanation seemed really harsh. Multi is making me worried about that now. I didn't.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to. I didn't want you to totally bash bronze and silver.
No. That's
You're good. I think you're good.
All right, next one here from Kyle T.
Kyle T, which by the way, I have met in person. He was actually at one of the Hearthstone fireside gatherings about a month ago now, maybe. Nice. Anyway, super nice guy. But yes, he has been writing in pretty much since then, which is totally cool because all of his questions have been good. So he even starts off with, "All right, boys, time for the weekly Kyle question. What's one mechanic you think is key to getting better? I've heard stutter stepping is a big gain for DPS, or learning to check the minimap regularly. Do you have other ideas on some key mechanics for someone looking to improve?" And this actually talks to a larger point. We've hinted a couple times that at some point soon, maybe on a slow week, we might have another look at some mechanics on the show, specifically stutter stepping. I think that having another discussion on it could be useful. There's X number of the listeners that just wouldn't be interested at all. They kind of are already proficient at it, would find it boring. But there's going to be some people who go, you know what? I mean, I've messed around with it some, but I don't know how important is this for et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's going to be tabled for a bigger discussion down the road. But it's definitely important. I would look into that one. Of the two you mentioned, I would say checking minimap and overall map awareness is a little bit better, because that'll just help you on any hero, any role you pick. I mean, you can stutter step on some of the other roles, but there's just some heroes where it's not as important as others. I'm thinking about certain supports, perhaps. I mean, you can use it on anyone, but you're not super worried about your auto attack DPS on Brightwing, is all I'm saying. As for other ideas from me, though, I don't know if this could be categorized as a mechanic as much as maybe a game sense, but I would do kind of what I did when I first started playing this game with Arthas. I'd pick a couple heroes that you really just like and want to mess around with quite a bit, and also work on just knowing your limits. Like, what is the exact time in which I need to start retreating versus charging in a laning situation, in a group fight? Because even just knowing that, I still to this day think that there's no better feeling in this game than actually even losing a team fight, but getting out with just, you can't even see the health bar anymore. And doing it because you were like, all right, I knew the exact moment that I needed to shift my focus here. And I don't know, it's pretty satisfying. So that would be my recommendation. Possibly not a mechanic. Yeah. I see another good one in the chat. Body blocking is excellent as well. Mm-hmm. Kind of a unique one to this MOBA too. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Mine's more along the lines of a game sense as well, not a mechanic, and that is going to be, and this is just going to come with the more you play, learning cooldowns.
Oh yeah,
of abilities.
Not just yours, but your opponent's. Yeah, to a degree.
So I think the most obvious example that's always been used when it comes to Heroes of the Storm is Jaina's Blizzard, just because that's a 13-second cooldown. I believe it's still 13 seconds. But it's a high impact ability. So just knowing whenever your opponents cast an ability, whether it's on you, a teammate, or a wave, kind of an estimation of how long, and you don't have to be able to like count down the seconds in your head and keep track of all these abilities, but just having a sense of when it's safe to, go in because they don't have that immediate burst, is extremely, extremely helpful. And again,
That
that
actually
comes with the more you play.
I hate to cut him, but that tip in particular, I think, would really help Thermal Donkey in his Vala versus Chromie matchup too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Although the Sandblast is a freaking short cooldown.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
But in this, I guess a way to learn this effectively would be a tip we've used several times on the show, which I'll say again: level every character up to level 5. And it doesn't have to be every, but work on that for a lot of them, because that gets you kind of at least comfortable with their skills and kind of figuring out how they feel. And you'll learn and remember a lot of cooldowns or estimations on how long their cooldowns are.
You get gold for 5, so
yeah.
I don't see why not. Anyway, go on.
Yep, it's true. No, and I want to add on to that too, Gizmo, because it's not just that, it's resource management. Not just even knowing cooldowns, but managing your resources properly. Not wasting abilities in lane unnecessarily. My biggest pet peeve, because I'm a big ETC player, is when I see ETCs use their W just when it's on cooldown. And it frustrates me to no end.
Or in the middle of a
They
camp.
have no mana.
No, it is not something you should ever use for damage. Please don't. Oh, well, you just split up everything. Cool. All the minions are just kind of off on their own. My AoE ability can't hit them all. Oh, well, that sucks. It's just there's a lot of those type of things. Potentially even like for Blizzard, like you said, Blizzard's a really long cooldown. Maybe using it on that chunk of lane minions when several people are missing, or when a team fight could potentially start, or an objective is about to start, is not the best idea. And so kind of keeping that type of thing in mind, as well as if you have cheap targeted abilities, using those to check bushes as you're going through, especially if and again, keeping an eye on that mini map. Everyone talked about that. That is super huge. If a bunch of people are missing, then you check the crap out of those bushes, because if you don't see anybody on the mini map, that means they could be anywhere.
Yeah, check the bushes, but just maybe not with your face if you're squishy.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Low cost abilities.
Low cost
abilities. Yeah.
I just want to throw that in there because it was one of the recommendations in chat as well.
That is one of my biggest weaknesses. I face check the crap out of bushes. Even when I'm pretty sure there's someone there, instead of using a low cost ability, because I'm like, I want to use this in a fight, I will be like, they're probably not there though, even though I know they're there, and then they're there, and I die. So.
And then you type, "Oh, I found them."
Yep, knew I shouldn't have done that. And we have one more question here from Zaelra.
Zaelra, maybe?
Zaelra?
Apologies there. And this is maybe not even a question, but it's good. Hey guys, I was watching the Heroes of the Dorm episode 1 on YouTube, and it occurred to me, this is a fantastic newbie learning tool. You have the source explaining in pretty basic detail what's going on. So, yeah. Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's on just about every night.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a great learning tool, especially if you want to see some stuff, some heroes, some strategies that you probably won't see in HGC, just because it is a different level. Yep. And maybe it is a level closer to what you're playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which might be more helpful.
That's what I was gonna say. Especially in these earlier rounds, you'll see a lot of things that make more sense or are easier to compare to your own games than you will in the HGC or when we get down to the semifinals and finals of Heroes of the Dorm.
And you get to see the mistakes happening, which are just more frequent there, just because of the level of play, and learn from them too. I mean, you can see, oh well, looks like the back line was out of position and got caught in the blizzard.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
there you go.
And
Learn something.
The source is great at explaining what is going on in pretty basic detail. I haven't heard any of his cast recently, but casting can be a huge tool when it comes to trying to learn things about the game. So, absolutely. So, Kyle T, you can check that out too. Learn some new stuff. That is the last question, I believe. Just check and see if we get any more. Nope, that's it.
I think so.
So before we get out of here, Multi, why don't you go ahead and tell people where we can be reached?
Well, we can be found in-game by typing /join space LOTS, or actually on our Discord, which is sticky to the top of our Twitter, but it's also on bit.ly, that's bit.ly/lots Discord. Lots is short for Lords of the Storm, if you weren't sure. That Twitter, by the way, at Lords of the Storm. We're also on twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm, live Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Central. And so we are also on Facebook, facebook.com/Lords of the Storm podcast. And you can email us also with feedback or some of these questions, lordsofthestorm@outlook.com. And if you want to help out the show, there's a couple good ways of doing it. You can, of course, leave us a review. A positive one really helps us out, but either one helps us. iTunes, Stitcher, etc. And if you, again, want to really help out the show and maybe check out some of the new perks coming up here, maybe. We've got that Patreon, patreon.com/Lords of the Storm, where, again, I mean, it's not required by any means. We're going to keep doing this, even if that number is a fat goose egg on there. But the fact that it isn't is something we're really thankful for. So thank you, guys.
For sure. Plus, we have some sweet art that's going to be coming out soon.
That's right.
You can also find us
That's what I
individually.
hear.
Yeah, I've only heard about it 10 times.
You can find myself on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, at GizmoZord, as well as on Convert to Raid Presents the BattleNet News, which is Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Central, where we cover all things Blizzard. And be sure to check out their esports show if you're interested in all the Blizzard esports. The BattleNet Sports. That's it. BattleNet Sports,
Yes.
which is on its own feed now. Multi, where can you be found?
I can be found on Twitter at Multizord. And I'm also on a new show, new podcast starting actually tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Thursday, it should be out Friday. I'm recording it tomorrow night with, again, it's Ro from Realm Maintenance, if you're familiar with the guy. But anyway, it's called Hearth Casual. Don't know if I mentioned that. On Twitter at Hearth Casual. And it's kind of what it hints at. It's a Hearthstone podcast geared a little bit more toward the casual, looking at more specifically a lot of the off-ladder game modes such as Arena, some of the tavern brawls, etc., dungeon runs for sure. I mean, we'll get into some ladder talk. Like this week, for instance, we're definitely going to be talking about Wildfest and specifically the Wild Brawliseum that I'm currently preparing a deck for. I actually crafted a wild deck and played my first ranked wild game ever yesterday.
Dude Paladin?
So, no. It's Murloc Secret Aggro Paladin.
That
Yes.
is
Sounds
so many
trolly.
adjectives.
I don't even want to
linked
use
together.
that term on the show called Hearth Casual because I don't want
Trolly?
the casuals to get like turned off by it.
I'm scared.
Yeah,
Of that,
I don't want to scare you.
like-
I don't want to scare you, TBK. I want you to come to us.
I was
I want
totally going
you
to
to-
check it out, but I'm not going to anymore.
I want you to call it a paladin deck.
Yes, I'm doing a Paladin deck.
Oh, good. That makes me feel better.
You can't even call it just a secret paladin or a Murloc paladin because both
Can't
of those
use
are trolly
titles.
too.
No,
Yeah,
too many
good
words.
point. Thanks for the feedback before it even starts. I'll take it straight to Ro.
Excuse me. No, I'm excited for that though because I know you've been our big Hearthstone guy in the Zords for pretty much forever. We know how much you love
And these are going to
Hearthstone.
be like bite-sized, right?
They're a little on the shorter side. It's going to kind of vary by week. For one, it is every other week. Ro's going to be putting out just really quick Tavern Brawl reminders, which he's already done. There's episode 0.5 on there right now, so you can already actually subscribe to the feed. But so yeah, I mean, it's every other week. Definitely taking it casually. We're shooting for like half hour to an hour, but we might flex that out specifically when like the new cards are being announced for the new expansion. But even then, we're going to take that and only cover like our three favorite or three notables. So
Cool.
It'll be good. That's the goal. Is right now in the Hearthstone space, I don't think there are many that are, as podcasts go, just a little bit more short and digestible, and we're kind of shooting for that. So I'm
Cool.
excited.
Excellent. TBK, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord and twitch.tv/TBKZord, which I hope to energize at some point. Maybe when the new rank season comes. I'm hoping to do something with streaming when the new rank season comes, crossing my fingers that performance-based matchmaking will actually come with it. But I'm hoping to do a little something extra after baby comes and life settles down a little bit. Should be good.
Yeah, for sure. Want to give a special thanks to our patron producer, Ouroboros Zord, for helping support the show, as well as all of our other patrons out there. We like you. Thanks.
You guys are cool.
Wicked Kitten, you're cool too. Our mod and Twitch chat. We will see you all same time, same place next week, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central. Have a good one.
Enough. I shall do no more.